ये इश्क नहीं आसान, बस इतना समझ लीजिए एक आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है.
And to what do we owe this pleasure of this Shero Shairi?
That was Mirza Ghalib, by the way. I'll tell you what we owe this pleasure to. Do you remember where we went yesterday?
Of course I do.
We went for a bit of Sufi, a bit of Qawwal, a bit of Qawwali. You know, I just love that mahal, that atmosphere, that josh and jazba of a Sufi mahfil. So I was trying to recite a bit of poetry there.
Welcome to the Shabby And Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything else in between.
So let's start the mehfil with this Sufi concert that we went to. Pakistan's youngest Qawwal duo and a team of up-and-coming stars, clearly proud custodians of the Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan legacy because they are just so talented. Zain Zohaib.
I think their father worked with Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan.
Accompanied
him, yeah.
Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan on stage for 40 years. Zain and Zohaib, absolutely mind-blowing, phenomenally talented people. We went to see their first debut UK tour. The first concert was in Ali Pali, in a place near us, a place you love.
It's very close to us, and the theatre, it had shut down for years. I remember it had shut down for years, and they kind of recently renovated it. So it's still not fully made. It's kind of a bit decrepit, decaying,
dilapidated.
Yeah, it's got that ruins kind of look, and it reminded me that I once went to see a mahfil in the ruins of Horse Khas in Delhi, and it was very similar. It had that same kind of vibe. अब उर्दू में vibe क्या बोलते हैं? I would have liked to say the Urdu word for that.
Mahal
तो था ही, वो तो मैं समझ गया.
I'm not sure what the Urdu is for vibe, but you're right.
वो जज्बा था, you know.
Josh jazba. Until the lights were dimmed and the stage was lit, it did look extremely old and crumbling, but that really added to the atmosphere. It was absolutely electric. And we have come back as Zain Zohaib fans, and I think they just belted out hit after hit after hit.
Now, I know that they're very, very popular on Coke Studio, I think Coke Studio 14 and Nescafe Basement.
Yeah.
But I hadn't actually watched all that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite sure if I know the songs, but luckily they're all songs I knew from Nusrat songs, you know. And you told me later that they're not Nusrat songs, they're actually traditional songs.
They're traditional Qawwali songs. It is true that Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan
and Rahat Fateh Ali Khan songs, which, you know, I know from Rahat also.
It's true that Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan put them on the map for most of the Western world, for most of the people outside of Pakistan. But they're all traditional Qawwalis, and anyone can sing them, really.
Here, I must also give credit for my awakening of Nusrat songs. I have to give credit to a certain guy called Baljit Singh Sagu, who was he is a Birmingham producer, better known as Bali Sagu. I heard a lot of his songs when I was in India.
Yeah.
And that also got me into it.
That album was quite iconic, I think.
It was called Magic Touch Volume 2 or something it was called.
Something like that.
I remember I used to play it a lot. I used to love that album.
But all the songs that they did, you know, from Afreen Afreen to, oh gosh, what's the other one?
Kinna
Sona, Pyare Pyare, and Allahu, and Husne Jana Ki Tareef Mumkin Nahi, that is Afreen Afreen. What's the other one? Ye jo Halka Halka Surur hai. All of these, plus a few of their original hits. Thagiyan, by the way, a song in Punjabi, is one of their biggest hits.
I saw a lot of people went mad clapping for that song.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually heard that song, but that's their biggest hit.
That's their biggest hit. And, you know, I think they actually have, I feel that this is the new blood. This is the talent, which is going to be where Rahat is in the next decade. And it's absolutely amazing. They're two brothers, and they've got two other very talented people who play the harmonium. Just as talented.
One of the guys who's playing harmonium,
phenomenal.
He could sing.
Yeah, and at the start, if you
and
remember,
I love those jugalbandis.
Yeah,
भी jugalbandi कहेंगे.
हाँ, jugalbandi कहेंगे, vocal jugalbandi. And you know, at the start, if you remember, it was actually the people who were on the tabla, on the harmonium, all of them dressed in black. They were the ones on stage, and these two guys who were on the harmonium, they sat in the middle. They took center stage, and for a moment, because we didn't know these guys too well, we thought maybe these were the main stars until the two brothers later joined them on stage and sat at the two ends of the stage.
It's quite funny that you didn't know them, because I believe that they came to your radio station moments after you left.
Yes, because we
Yesterday.
sponsored the event. So it was really fantastic. And I always feel that, to see up and coming talent, to see the next generation of stars gradually make their way into this world and find the fame and the fortune that they really deserve. It's absolutely phenomenal. This is like 20 years from now when we look back, and I'm sure if they carry on the way they're singing now, they will become massive names worldwide. It will be so wonderful to think back to this mehfil and say, oh, we came here when they did their first London gig, when no one in London, not many people in London knew them.
Do you remember 16 years ago we went to a restaurant and Rahat Fateh Ali Khan was doing one of his early gigs?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that must have been a long time ago.
20 years ago maybe.
Yeah. That was the time when his stage shows weren't as big as they are now. So I'm sure he did private mehfils and private gigs here and there. But it's really, I always feel happy when talent gets its due credit. And these two kids, as you can see, not kids, but very young rising stars. Very, very talented. Now, this has been a week of two halves. We ended Friday night with a fantastic Qawwali concert in Qawwali, Ali Pali.
And in the same week, a few days earlier,
it was all about disco.
It was all about Bollywood. It was about 80s Bollywood. We went to see a stage musical of Disco Dancer, which is that Bappi Lahiri musical. Well, I say Bappi Lahiri, it's actually, I don't know who directed, I can't remember, but it's
Mithun Chakravarti film.
movie, yeah.
It's an iconic 80s film. Bappi Lahiri scored the music for it, virtually every song, and it was a super duper hit when it came out, and it really captured the imagination of the young Bollywood audience.
Now, I couldn't remember, I must have seen Disco Dancer, but I couldn't remember it, and you said you haven't seen it.
I never got into that. I was neither a Mithun fan, nor was I a Bappi Lahiri fan.
That was the whole fun of the thing, because it's such a cheesy plot storyline. It's very typical
Bollywood
80s storyline. That they played up to that fact.
Yeah.
They had an English comedian.
Truth be told, it was a bit Andram. It was. Felt a bit like a glorified school play.
Well, if you're used to the West End here.
Yeah.
And the sets and things here.
Yeah.
It was slightly
not just the sets, it's
amateurish.
the finesse with which every singer hits every note. And the way the scenes change and the way everything comes together. There is a reason why people pay premium prices to watch a play in London's West End or in New York on Broadway. They have a reputation for a reason. So this was, but again, saying that, at the end of the day, a good time was had by all, only because the songs were massive anthems. And we could tell that the audience comprised mainly of people jinke liye Disco Dancer meant something. And I always like to say that films
it's not easy to do the story with English dialogues.
Yeah.
The songs were in Hindi, but the dialogues were in English.
I don't think that would have been a challenge because Indians speak good English. We've all grown up speaking English, so it's not that it's an alien language. But the numbers were massive. Everybody was jumping and screaming and dancing in their seats. And, as we always like to say, that anything that resonates with you, whether it is a piece of art, whether it is a book, whether it's a movie, normally transports us to a magical place in our lives, and we, find reference in things that we may have been doing at the time when it was popular, whether it is about friendships, relationships, growing up, discovering a new genre, travel, hanging out with cousins, with friends, your first movie on the big screen. It could be absolutely anything, but Disco Dancer clearly was many things to many people. So what did you think of it overall? You enjoyed it, right?
I enjoyed it, I did, yeah. And I wasn't sure how many songs I'd know, but everybody knows Jimmy, Aja, Aja. And everyone knows I'm a disco dancer. And there's one more I can't remember now, which I knew.
Yaad aa raha hai tera pyar. And they weaved in other Bappi Lahiri songs that at the start, do you remember when the disco dancer, when that kid is actually, he leaves he's from the suburbs, from the burbs, and when he leaves wherever he was to make it big, and make his way to Mumbai. Mumbai se aaya mera dost ko salam karo.
It's from a different movie.
It's from a different film, but it's a Bappi Lahiri song, nonetheless.
It's very disco-y. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
You could feel
as
the disco
name
influence.
suggests. What did it take you by surprise? What would you go in thinking? It would be opera?
No.
What do you mean? It's very disco-y.
As the name suggests, it was full of disco.
Yeah, of course, because the musical is called Disco Dancer, the musical. Isn't that like stating the obvious?
What? Why they had to put the word dancer in so that we know it's about dancing?
Yeah. Anyway.
I didn't understand what you're going on about there.
Yeah, well, I don't know what your point was either. But anyway, we saw Disco Dancer and we saw a Qawwali as well. What else did we do? What else is happening in the world? What is making the headlines? I think Twitter has been a big story since we last did our podcast 2 weeks ago. Elon Musk clearly hell-bent on running it his way and taking many decisions which are proving to be popular stroke unpopular.
No, he did a poll. He did a poll. The result came out today, actually. That should Donald Trump be reinstated? And I think it was 52 to 48 said yes. So Donald Trump is going to be reinstated.
Back on Twitter. First, he shut down the offices for the weekend, which didn't bode very well for people because they said that people are, what do you call it? Rats leaving a sinking ship, whatever it's called. People are leaving Twitter because no one quite knows what the future holds.
No, he is justifying by saying that there were too many people employed.
We're doing nothing kind of thing.
Yeah, they were spending $400 a day on lunch. That is his justification. It doesn't need so many people.
Where could you have spent $400 a day on lunch? What at the
Twitter headquarters?
Oh, I was just thinking. No, but tell me honestly, would you be $400 is what, about £300, right? If you went to say the Savoy or something, would it set you back by £300? I think it would, right, with drinks and stuff.
Easily it would.
So
some of these tasting menus start at
yeah, you're right. All right, so fair enough. So Donald Trump back on Twitter. That's one news.
But Twitter's become so exciting because you don't know whether it's going to be here by the time you hear this podcast. Will there be Twitter?
What will happen to those who have spent these last 13, 14 years working hard for a blue tick, garnering hundreds and thousands of followers? What is happening? What will happen to those people? Especially people who rely entirely on Twitter.
They'll move on to other social media platforms.
Other platforms.
And there are many new ones. Like I was very tempted to join Mastodon.
What?
The new one where you don't tweet, you toot because
God.
Mastodon is.
What is it? An owl, which is a.
No, it's a prehistoric mammoth, like an elephant. Yeah, so it's trunk toots. I think in Ice Age there were mastodons.
Which country did this originate in?
I think it's German or Dutch. I think it's German actually.
You were talking about this one tweet that went viral because somebody said, "If only it was Facebook" or something like that, right?
Many tweets go viral. People are putting up their last tweets, saying that if I don't see you again, these are my new social handles. Find me on Instagram, that kind of stuff.
This is also the week the World Cup got underway. Now, this has been clearly the most controversial World Cup in the history of the tournament.
Till the last one. Every time it's very controversial.
But Qatar getting a lot of stick from the rest of the world.
Wasn't the last World Cup in Russia or somewhere? That was very controversial.
So Qatar, obviously, people have a divided opinion on
the human rights record and all that thing. But don't forget that half of London is owned by Qatar.
It's funded by Qatar.
Yeah, Canary Wharf is totally Qatari.
They should have just had it in London then, as Qatar's European outpost. No?
Yeah, and the Shard and some of the poshest, finest hotels.
But there are also, I suddenly see a lot of these pieces in mainstream media where people are defending Qatar by saying that, oh, it's a bit rich coming from Europe with their history of this and this. So it's quite exciting. We're doing an office sweepstakes and I've got my 4 teams. I don't think I have any chance of winning. Australia, Ecuador, Senegal, Portugal.
Portugal might have a chance. Though let's face it, Ronaldo is in the news every day. He might just be inspired. But then after all the ramblings in Manchester United, we know he's leaving Manchester United. But who knows?
How does it work if you have fought with your manager so openly and said things about him in the press? How can you ever go back to...
He doesn't want to go back. He's one...
No, but then what happens? He doesn't play in a match? Or he doesn't talk to the manager?
That's the whole point, that he's so annoyed that he wasn't being
consulted,
given a chance to play in matches. He was on the bench.
Okay. So that's the whole story. Anyway. So it sounds like a playground
But
spat.
talking about Ronaldo, you have to talk about Messi. Messi,
you don't have to.
You do, and Argentina is actually the favourite, I think, at the moment to win. And only today, I think it came out today or yesterday, Messi and Ronaldo have done an ad for Louis Vuitton where they're playing chess on a very expensive luggage kind of thing, Louis Vuitton luggage.
Who wins?
It's just a still, so we don't know. I didn't look into it, but So the two greats.
I would also like to talk about
season
season 5.
A lot of time to talk about things.
Season 5 of The Crown. I binge watched it last weekend, and I think out of all the seasons, this is my least favorite. When the promo came out, when the trailer came out about a month ago, Judi Dench.
You're such a staunch Crown lover.
I am a staunch lover of more than The Crown. It was Claire Foy playing Her Majesty the Queen, which really got me interested in the series. And
so you're saying you didn't enjoy it that much, even though you watched the whole thing.
Obviously, you had to watch it.
The whole thing.
I binge watched the whole thing, all 10 episodes over 2 days. But when they dropped the trailer, Judi Dench said this is nothing but crude sensationalism, and I have to say that I agree with her in many, many respects. I don't know whether this has anything to do with the fact that because this season concentrates on the Diana years, these are years that we remember. Diana is from our time.
Aren't you criticizing your own self because last time you said to me that it's so factual, they do so much research.
No, that's true. But then Peter Morgan also says that this is not just an account of history. Where our expertise comes in, the charm of The Crown is not to say that on the 15th of December they ate dinner in Buckingham Palace and the following morning they were in Windsor Castle and the following morning they were in America. This is not a factual documentary.
So it's embellished.
It is embellished in the sense that because the royal family's life is so well documented, it is what they imagine happened behind closed doors, between lunch and dinner, where it's a documented fact that this is what they did for lunch, this is where they were for dinner. What happened in the interim period behind closed doors, when their marriages were falling apart, when Her Majesty, by her own admission, had the horriblest year of her life.
Inus Horribilis.
That's the one. That's how it starts, by the way. That's episode 1. It did absolutely nothing for me.
You're waiting for season 6 then?
I'm waiting for season 6. Very disappointed with the fleeting, literally 2 scenes with Dr. Hasnat Khan, played by Humayun Saeed, the wonderfully talented Pakistani actor Humayun Saeed. He's literally in 2 scenes. But I believe there was a lot of furor in Pakistan because in those 2 scenes, they kiss twice. And it's been done very artistically, very beautifully. They must be mindful of the fact that a lot of Pakistani people will watch it purely because of Humayun Saeed. But apparently people said, oh my God, how could he do it? And all the rest of it. But it's been shot very, very beautifully. Nonetheless.
Talking about Pakistan, you did an interview recently with
Bilal Lashari. I did.
Bilal Lashari, which I believe has gone viral in Pakistan.
Yeah.
It's been picked up by the media there.
Because they posted the interview on their official Legend of Mollajat page and all the rest of it, and I'm quite chuffed. It was a brilliant interview. He is a young director. He is, I feel, the Christopher Nolan of Pakistan. He has brought in a fresh new perspective on how to make a riveting action film. He's made it exactly like a Hollywood thriller, and I'm obviously here assuming that we all consider Hollywood the benchmark for good action. And yet the story, because it is a remake of a Punjabi Gandasa film from 1979, Mollajat, he still completely stayed faithful to the basic storyline. And just to make it a bit more legit, he had the original scriptwriter of the Mollajat, Nasir Adib. He had him co-write the screenplay for the Legend of Mollajat as well. So completely deserving of all the praise that's come his way, and it has, I believe, crossed 150 crores worldwide, so it has become the highest.
200 crores back.
Well, there you go, 200 crores.
And I put a little clip up on my social media, on my Twitter, where you ask him about Fawad Khan and Mahira Khan, and were there any pressures to make it into a love story for them?
Yeah,
whatever. But I believe the actual interview is on your Instagram page?
It is on my Instagram page, and I think we've shared it on the Shabby And Man page as well, have we not? I'm not sure, but it is on my Shabby Sahi at Instagram. It is there if you want to hear the full 11-12 minute interview. But I'm very impressed. I feel that for someone to have that vision, to work on it for 10 years diligently without any compromise, and make the film exactly the way he wanted to make it. The funny thing is that I think a day before the film actually came out, if you look back, if you go into YouTube and do a bit of homework and look at all the interviews that Bilal has done since then. Right from day one, you could tell that it was going to be a big hit because, it was just fantastic. But before it released, someone asked him that we believe that this is the most expensive Pakistani film ever made, and I believe you've made it on a budget of 40 crores or 50 crores or something. And he just smiled. He said neither yes or no. And he gave us the impression that this was nowhere near the actual figure. They made it on much more money than that. But what he also said was that I'm very confident. They said, do you think your film will make 100 crores? He said, I'm very confident that it will. I have a good feeling about this. I think for someone to know that what you've done is a good product, something that will cut it with the audience.
Because traditionally, Pakistani movies don't really make that much money.
Not at all. Pakistani movies are an absolute no-show because drama is where their strength lies. And as Bilal Ashari himself says, that I've never been inspired by Pakistani cinema because it was on a decline when I was growing up. Back to the Future, the trilogy is what really inspired me. I've not seen much Bollywood either, but yeah, of course I've seen the big hits. And another interview to Anupama Chopra, someone I know, he talks about Mirzapur. He says that right now, because everybody has access to OTT, there are some fantastic dramas being made in the subcontinent. But
I know you want to watch Breathe, don't you?
I want to watch Breathe Into the Shadows. We never got into Mirzapur somehow,
no,
right?
We haven't seen it.
Then there's another one, Manoj Bajpayee's.
Just recently, I think कल परसों Monica, oh my God.
हाँ, वो भी है. Drishyam 2 देखनी है हमने, since we saw Drishyam 1 and enjoyed it so much.
That is in the cinema, I think.
Drishyam is in the cinema, you're right. And with another one that people rave about that we haven't seen, out of the many things we haven't seen, is The Family Man, Manoj Bajpayee. They have done 2 seasons as well, and I believe even that is fantastic. It all comes down to the same thing, someone leading a double life. You're a simple, breathe kabhi wahi hai. He suffers from some disorder where, when he's like normal, when he's normal, he's a loving, committed dad, the sweetest person around. And then when the condition kind of afflicts you, then you miraculously transform into a man who takes no responsibility for his actions and becomes a killer and things like that. So it's pretty much the same. But that's that.
Oh, any English thing? You were talking a lot about TV and films today. That's important. And concerts and plays.
Yeah. So the one English show that I have been watching, and I want to read the book very badly, is Stanley Tucci's Italy, Discovering Italy.
I just love food programs anyway.
Yeah.
This is my favorite genre, if you ask me.
Food and history.
Food and probably travel.
Yeah. Anthony Bourdain was the king of that. Giving us the history, his perspective on a country, talking about the culture, talking about food traditions.
Stanley Tucci does it very well as well.
He does it so well.
And I like historians who do it as well, like Bethany Hughes. She does Rome and Paris, and I love those sort of programs.
Yeah. So, we've been watching a lot of telly. And
haven't we?
Yeah. The next podcast in 2 weeks' time, well, we'll know whether England is actually within.
Are they in the semi-finals?
Are they in the semi-finals? No, 2 weeks is not going to be semi-finals, right? It's on for about a month.
We'll actually not go to the next stage.
If they go to the next stage, and if at all, what is it that they're saying? 57 years of hurt.
Yeah, but by the way, since our last podcast, don't forget there was a big match between England and Pakistan in cricket also.
Yes, it was an absolute nail-biter, and the memes that were doing the rounds were absolutely hilarious, because obviously at the start it felt as though Pakistan was packing its bags and going straight home, but there they were in the finals, and they really fought hard. It was a well-played match, really a thrilling match, which England won in the end. So that's that.
So who are you supporting in the World Cup, by the way? Are you supporting England, or are you supporting Australia, Ecuador, Senegal and Portugal?
I am, for the sake of getting back a jackpot from my office sweepstake, I am supporting precisely those 4 teams that you mentioned. I'm also excited about the fact, I'm trying to remember the date. I can't remember whether it's going to be within the next 2 weeks or just after that. But I'm also looking forward to a fantastic Bryan Adams concert that I'll be going to soon in the first week of December. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about my foray into NFT. Making an NFT.
You made an NFT.
And
do you know what NFT stands for, by the way?
Non-fungible tokens.
Yes, you do.
Don't ask me to explain any further, because then I'll be exactly what you were in the opening lines of the podcast, where you were.
What? ये इश्क नहीं आसान. बस इतना समझ लीजिए. एक आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है.
हाँ, अब उस पेपर को हटा लीजिए.
खुदा हाफिज.
Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.